What's up, everybody? Here we are for another episode number 12 of Hard Hat Highlights, where Jay and I kind of pull the curtain back on our work week to go over some of the things that we've come across, either here in the showroom or on the job site. And then, of course, Jay has scoured the internet for a bunch of the trending headlines that we get to talk about and add our little bit of flair. If you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel, where this Hard Hat Highlights is hosted, please do so. Subscribe, share, comment. We'd love to hear from you. And Jason, how the hell are you?
I am doing wonderful. I can't wait to share the good, the bad, and the ugly about this week.
As well, I can't wait to hear it.
My week started off interesting.
Let's hear it.
So came in here Monday morning, and someone had been in my office.
Oh. While the cat's away, the mice will play.
Yeah, I just noticed things were a little rearranged. I like to keep things in certain spots, and it was a little off. Mm-hmm. So whatever, I start working. I go to use my mouse, and my mouse isn't moving. Little cursor's not moving. I'm like, my first thought, what the fuck did Keith do? So I turn it over, just make sure it's turned on, and I see Scotch tape covering the sensor. And then there was another piece of Scotch tape, and it was right then that I knew it wasn't you, because on that other piece of Scotch tape said LOL, and it was spelled correctly.
That wasn't Keith. It was Keith 2.0. It was Riley. And by the way, when Riley was in that office over the weekend, because we had to stop by on Saturday to do I had to fire off an email. He took it upon himself to play that goof. I didn't say go fuck with Jay's office or do something. He did that on his own. I was very proud of that.
It's okay. He fired the first shot.
Yes.
Just be ready, buddy.
Yes. What else has happened this week?
Well, I went to a job site the other day, and you hate to see this. And for me, we've seen a lot over the years, but this was egregious. I actually felt uncomfortable for this.
Oh, I can't wait to hear this.
So I went up into a high rise. I was waiting for the job super, meet with him to go over a couple things, and I'm standing there looking at a couple of the areas we we're going to put some glass in, and one of them happened to be a wet bar, and the cabinet people were working on the cabinets there at the time, and so there were what appeared to be two workers and one. Like
Foreman.
The DPW stands and just yells.
Yeah.
But this guy, oh my God. I mean, back in my younger days, if I were that worker, I probably would have punched the guy and left.
What was happening?
He was just berating the shit out of this kid. Like, am I talking to a fucking brick wall?
Oh, talking down to him.
Oh yeah, in front of everyone.
Unacceptable.
I mean, there's guys working all around him, and this poor kid's just getting screamed at for God knows what, and just made to feel like a piece of shit.
Even if it's deserving, it's not something that should be done in a public forum like that.
That's not a way for management or leadership. Leading by fear does not work.
No, we've seen it time and time again. I would argue not only does it not work, but it's really going to set up the person that's invoking the fear. He's almost lighting a stick of dynamite. Like, eventually that person's going to be so fed up that they might get physical, which I don't blame you, I would too. Or they're gonna be doing their job, and they're not gonna do it to their best of their ability, because in the back of their mind, like, what am I doing here dealing with this asshole? I don't even want to be here. This guy doesn't respect me. They're not gonna do a good job at whatever it is they're doing.
Yeah.
Whatever widget they're making or whatever they're building.
It's like, remember A Christmas Story? Mm. And Scott Farkas and Grover Dill were always picking on little Ralphie, and then one day he just beat the shit out of him.
Yes.
It's
a ticking time bomb.
It's what happens.
Empathy should be the backbone with any leadership, with any communication, actually with any human being, but especially in a leadership role.
Yeah.
For sure. That's sad to see that.
Well, speaking of hateful rhetoric, this morning, you and I had a hater on Instagram, which was interesting. And we welcome that, by the way. I mean, a lot of times it's something to laugh at, and other times it gives us, something to learn from. Maybe we're doing something wrong. Tell us. We're open to constructive criticism.
Yeah.
This particular hater just apparently didn't like what we were talking about, or thought we were full of shit, or whatever it was, but it was
but went out of their way to type something.
And it was really stupid. It was like, here we go again with the BS. Are you guys bored?
So they took time out of their day not only to watch the whole piece of content, but then to respond in a non-productive manner, which I feel bad for this person. Obviously, they're going through something. And by the way, the piece of content I think was awesome.
Yeah, it wasn't a follower. I think the person had a particular side they were taking and didn't like that we were looking at the other side of it. But I have to tell you, like, especially to this particular woman, if you're going to criticize, that's fine. That's fine. But if you're going to call BS on something, tell us what the BS is about.
Exactly.
Fill us in. I mean, I'll tell you, I'll be the first one. If I go down to the intersection you're working on and I tell you you're holding the sign wrong, I'm going to tell you why you're doing it.
Yeah, I'm not going to just say you're holding the sign wrong. I would also like to say, I think it's good that we get some haters. I read an article once saying, and this could be with anything, but let's just take under the umbrella of social media. If you do a social media post and it's okay, the people that like you will comment on it, but no one else, you won't get any hate or any negativity. Just like your inner circle will like, maybe comment, definitely won't share. But if you do a piece of content that's a banger, it's getting a lot of impressions, a lot of likes, a lot of comments. When it's really good is when the hate starts coming out. Something really good will get both congratulatory and hate. If it's just moderately okay, you will never get the hate.
It's not worth their time.
It's not worth their time. And so when you start seeing hate, I think it's a measure of, oh shit, that must be a validation. It must be a really good piece of content. So and by the way, we've busted each other's balls our whole careers, 25 years now. There's nothing a human being could say on our social media feed that we haven't already heard.
That's true.
And I mean that. There's nothing they could say that would hurt our feelings. So we welcome it. I actually think there was 3 or 4 weeks at the tail end of last year where you and I were making content about the mean comments that we were getting, which got a lot of attraction. We might have to start doing that again. So we welcome the hate.
Yeah. So we had a little event going on tonight.
Oh, I'm really looking forward to this, actually.
Yeah, our good friend Charles Jarrett.
Charles Jarrett. Speaking of people that don't preach hate, Charles Jarrett could be, I call him the best number 2 man. And let me explain, put some context before.
What do you mean by that?
He doesn't do a lot of posts on social media, meaning for himself or videos or produced content, but he comments on a lot of people's content. And when I mean comment, it's articulating, it's thought-provoking, it's very collaborative. Charles Jarrett could arguably be one of the best commenters on my LinkedIn feed by far. I mean, it's not just 2 words like great job, guys, strong. There's always some substance to what he has to say.
Yeah, he is the antithesis of the haters.
Yeah. And I've known people that said they've ended up doing business with Charles because they see him in the comment section. So that's mind-blowing to me. He's not even producing the content. He's just showing up in the feed, and he's not looking to hog any time. He's generally putting us over, but that puts him into the category if people want to collaborate with him. So I love Charles, and I'm anxious to see him tonight. I think he rented out I haven't been there yet, but the Alamo gun range, there's a presidential suite or something they call on the 2nd floor where he's going to have a little meeting, and then we get to blast him around. So hopefully we get to shoot some content. Yeah. No pun intended.
We need a competition. What's that going to be?
No question of a doubt we have to do a competition. As far as shooting and accuracy?
I don't think they allow you to quick draw or anything like that.
No, or go stand there and put an apple on your head. Yeah. No, but you're saying what's the reward or punishment going to be?
Yeah.
We'll have to come up with something like that. But whatever it is, it will be on tape. Oh, by the way, shout out to Miss Donna D. This is a preliminary hard hat highlight t-shirt. There's obviously going to be more coming, so we can both be wearing them and representing our show. But
that's just the beta model. That's why the beta is wearing it.
The beta. Thank you, Mommy, for making my hard hat highlights t-shirt. So, I'm actually really looking forward to throwing some lead down range tonight. That'll be fun.
It should be a good competition. Speaking of competitors and sponsorships, Our sister company, My Shower Door, it has several sponsorships, but two of the big ones in the area are the spring training homes of the Boston Red Sox and the Minnesota Twins. The Minnesota Twins, we have a large billboard out in left field, and
Next to the scoreboard.
that's right. But that stays up year round. So when the Twins are no longer in town, their single A affiliate, the Fort Myers Mighty Muscles, plays there. Recently, they had to make an interesting business decision. They just cut one of their catching prospects. It was a 2024 draft pick. His name was Derek Bender. And I don't know if you've heard about this, but Mr. Derek, the Muscles were in contention for the playoffs once again. And during their game on September 6th, they had a doubleheader with the Lakeland Flying Tigers. And in the second game of the doubleheader, the Flying Tigers scored 4 runs in the second inning, ended up winning 6-0, eliminated the Muscles from playoff contention. It was found out later that the catcher, Derek Bender, was tipping the pitches to the opposing team. He was telling them the exact pitch that was going to come in as they were standing at the plate.
Oh, so this isn't like the Connor Stallions, who I just love that Netflix, by the way. It wasn't they were stealing it.
He was sabotaging his own team.
They were in cahoots, and he was tipping his hand to them.
Well, yeah, but they weren't in cahoots,
Right.
as you would think. Afterwards, the teammates, some of the teammates had said that he was going and telling the teammates, "I just want this season to end." So he was sabotaging the season so they wouldn't have to go play in the playoffs.
And how was he doing that? Have you seen any footage of this?
I haven't seen direct footage of it. I've seen, the stories of it. But, the catchers typically put the signs out to the pitcher. So if fastball's coming, he's telling the batter, "Hey, here comes a fastball."
Oh, he was saying it.
He was saying it. Yes.
Oh! I didn't know if he was giving a signal or something.
No.
Oh,
he was literally telling them
I'd be livid.
the pitch that was coming.
I'd be livid.
Yeah.
And I don't understand the benefit for him, because we talked about this before. In pro sports, you're on tape. So your resume is going to be on videotape all the time. So now this story is obviously going to get out there. Who in their right mind would ever sign this person?
Yeah. And I'm curious I know the organization released him. Is there actually a rule against sabotaging your own team, though?
Well, how do you know what he was saying was accurate, too? Obviously, in this case, it could have been, but
I think
how do you prove that?
I think they tested it, actually, it's very easy, right? So if he says, "Hey, fastball's coming," and guy stands in there and takes the pitch, and it's fastball, okay, maybe I'll give some credence to the next one. And he does, and bang, there he gets a hit.
Wow. And is it the umpire's job to say anything in that, or are they supposed to just mind their own business? And
I don't know.
what would you do? Would you let the other team know, hey, like your catcher's...
It's such an unheard of thing.
I've never heard of anything
that
like
if
this.
I was the umpire, I'd think he's just talking shit, and
Yeah.
it's not a big deal.
But it wouldn't be very long before he identified, like, holy shit, he's actually giving him the pitches.
Yeah.
Oh, that's sick.
Well,
speaking of which, spring
yes.
training, Dollar told me, Dollar Bill, he just signed a deal with the Fenway South, the Red Sox spring training facility, that our logo is actually going to be on the Monster instead of in center field. So we've actually made it to the Monster, I believe, alongside Suffolk Construction. Shout out Suffolk. We've been doing some work together. But during that negotiation, we also landed a couple more opening day, not opening day, but first pitch.
pitches.
Yeah, so going to be able to hit the mound again. I'm actually really looking forward to that. Throwing out the first pitch at a Red Sox game, that's killer.
Maybe this time you'll throw it better than 50 Cent.
First of all, last time I threw it was way better than 50 Cent. I like 50 Cent's music, but you could tell a lot about a person when they throw a baseball, and he don't throw a baseball really well. Actually, it's the worst I've ever seen. Maybe Gary Delabonte was the other one from Howard Stern. Baba Booey.
Well, telling the opponent the pitch that's coming may not be against the rules is certainly unethical. Mm-hmm. And speaking of ethics, we spoke about Home Depot last week and this competitor, LL Flooring, which, by the way, I found out LL stands for Lumber Liquidators. Oh. So when we said we never heard of LL Flooring.
Yeah. It's usually just spelt out.
Yeah, so if you remember, we talked last week about them having some deceptive business practices with their flooring. Well, it turns out Home Depot's in a little bit more trouble. So they've had to pay almost $2 million in fines in the state of California for when people were going and purchasing items, and say the item on the sticker or on the little rail there says it was $49.99. Well, they'd get up to the register and it'd be like $53.99. So they're paying extra because at that point it's just a little bit, so it's not worth their hassle to go and find someone and then go back to the thing. So essentially they're stealing money from people, right? Because they're luring them in with a certain price, and then they get up there and they're charging a different price. And it's only a couple bucks, but with all the customers they have, that adds up.
I've never gone in there and bought one 2x4. If I'm going in there, there's usually 30 of this and 20 of that.
Yeah.
But I'm just one customer. What about that's happening all day long? That has to be illegal. I mean,
it is. Yeah. It is. And that's why they've had to pay these fines. But
how long have they been doing it for?
Well, that's a good question. How long have they been doing it for, or how long
have they been
caught doing it?
I look at those prices when I'm there, but by the time I grab all the lumber and everything, I do it I've already forgotten.
That's right.
So I would fall to this trap. But it begs the question, do you look when they're scanning to see if it comes up?
Not usually.
No. I kind of have a general idea of where this should be, and if it's close, I just pay it, which sucks because I've always worried about that with credit cards. There's a $2 charge here, a $2 charge there. I'm not going to see that.
Right.
But if that goes on for the rest of my life.
And the thing is, you go up there and, you've got an idea in your head what it's going to cost. So, like you said, if it's close, and then if it's a little more, you're like, oh, fucking taxes.
I want to get going anyway.
It's taxes,
yeah,
right?
Taxes.
So even someone who's very situationally aware, it's difficult to pay attention to something like that. I think I might try and pay a little more attention now to that, but it'll be hard.
I think that's one of the benefits of watching Hard Hat Highlights we kind of uncover some of these things to make people aware. And by the way, if you're not aware of our YouTube channel, we suggest that you go to Glazzguy, GLAZZGUY, and subscribe. And this is our 12th episode that we're filming right now. And statistically speaking, that's a big deal. In the YouTube kind of podcasting realm, about 75% of the people that start doing a podcast will never get to 10 episodes. So congratulations to you.
Likewise.
You and I for getting to our 12th episode of Hard Hat Highlights.
Well, I guess nobody is safe from fraud, even after death.
Oh.
So a Missouri woman named Lisa Janine Finley. Well, I don't know why they always put the middle name in, but anyhow, Lisa Janine Finley, she claims that Lisa Marie Presley borrowed $3.8 million from her investment and private lending firm. There's only one problem. It wasn't a real company, and the loan never happened. So as we know, Lisa Marie is now deceased. This woman claims back in 2018 that Lisa Marie borrowed $3.8 million from her fake firm, and as collateral, she put up Graceland. And so now this woman went and forged documents with Lisa Marie's signature as well as that of a Florida notary public and turned them into Shelby County, where Graceland's located, and put the property into foreclosure in the hopes of auctioning it off and making all the money for herself.
How far along did this go?
Fucking ballsy, right?
Oh my God.
So it got before a judge, and the judge, who was a big fan of Memphis and Graceland and all that, he just said, I know what a staple this building is in this community, and something doesn't smell right. So he kind of put a hold on it, and then they come to find out that this property or this company didn't exist, she had all these various aliases of different people who supposedly worked for this company, and they found that the signatures were forged. And so now Miss Finley is facing federal charges of mail fraud and aggravated identity theft.
Wow. And what type of punishment does that come with?
I'm sure it's not pretty.
Ooh, Gray Bar Motel?
I don't think her girlfriend would be pretty either.
Oof. I like Elvis.
Elvis is great. Elvis had a lot of cars.
Oh.
And he probably liked to drive fast, much like you.
Yeah.
I'm sure neither you nor he got a speeding ticket like this next guy.
Let's hear it.
So a gentleman named Connor Cato in Savannah, Georgia, was going 90 in a 55 and got pulled over, was served a ticket. When he looked at his ticket after the police officer had driven away, he realized what the fine was. The fine was $1.4 million. It seems like a joke.
It has to be.
That's what he thought. And so he called the court, and the court said, well, you can either pay the fine or you appear in court on December 21st. So it come to find out what it was is it was an auto-generated placeholder that somehow put $1.4 million as a fine, which on a traffic ticket is ridiculous. They've comforted him and told him that if he goes to court, the maximum the fine will be is $1,000. But can you imagine, like, your whole life comes crashing down in front of you because you're looking at this and you're like, there's no way. Okay, it's but then you call the court and they're like, yeah, this is legitimate.
I could see where that could rock somebody's world that puts the police and everything up at the highest regard and just kind of bows down to what they say. And which, by the way, in a traffic stop, you should do that.
Right.
However,
no Tyreek Hill.
No. However, I've been pulled over enough to know that dollar amount seems a little egregious, actually a lot egregious for the infraction. And I know that if there's typically a misprint, like if they spell your name wrong, your height, that ticket is actually invalid. Mm-hmm. And so I would have got excited if I saw 1.4 million because I'm like, there's no way that's correct. This has to be an invalid ticket. And now I'm not going to get any points on my insurance or anything. So that's interesting. So is that a how shall we say, a procedural thing? Like, does that happen on all the tickets, or is this just kind of a one-off scenario?
This was apparently just a glitch in this auto-generated program that puts the fine in place. So supposedly this has not happened before.
That's unbelievable. I did see somebody made a comment the other day, though, about fines, whether it's speeding or whatever. A fine is basically, well, I'm not saying this. This is how this individual characterized it. A fine is basically permission to break the rules. Like, there's a speed limit, and you're not supposed to go over the speed limit.
But if you're willing to pay, you can.
But if you're willing to pay, you absolutely can. So you are allowed to speed if you're willing to pay for it.
Yeah.
However, if you do that too many times, you won't be driving anymore. Now, I haven't experienced that, again, because I either...
Yet.
Yeah, no, knock on wood. That's not going to happen anymore. No.
Well, there's no tickets in this next story, but I can tell you that somebody's probably spending a lot of time in their room.
Okay, let's hear.
An 8-year-old girl in Ohio took mommy's car for a joyride to Target one morning. She drove her mom's vehicle 11 miles. At 8 years old, 11 miles, where the police found her at Target.
Of course. At the Starbucks in Target.
I think my wife just found her spirit animal.
100%. Her and many, many other women. 8 years old. Wow.
8 years old. I mean, I'm having a hard enough time getting my 17-year-old to learn how to drive.
That's unbelievable.
Let alone an 8-year-old does it on her own.
Like at 8, I mean, I'm trying to remember my kids at 8. I don't even know if it would be possible to be able to hit the gas and see over the steering wheel at the same time.
Yeah, it was like the old movies where like one has to man the pedal
Yes.
and the other sits up top.
Hit the
and
brake,
tells
hit
them
the
where to
brake.
go. Yeah.
Holy shit. And they... Sorry, you can't even make that up.
Right.
Where was this?
This was Ohio. So there's actually video out there. of the car. Somebody spotted the vehicle, and she was actually doing okay. You know, she was kind of coming out of the lines a little bit, but then at one point she goes all the way over into the oncoming traffic lane. Luckily, it was Ohio, so there was no one there, and you know, the person recording is like, "Whoa, what's going on here?" You know, had no idea it was an 8-year-old girl.
11 miles. It's like, okay, you didn't just drive down the street or around the block. You went 11 miles.
So they said they put the route into Google Maps, and the quickest route was 25 minutes.
Holy shit. So what ends up happening here?
So
$1.4 million ticket?
I don't know what happens. I mean, it's a kid. You know, what do you do? And
Nobody got hurt.
yeah, now kudos to the girl because she did tell the police. I hit a mailbox.
Oh.
So she did hit a mailbox. You know, probably did a little damage to mommy's car. I don't know. It's a, you know, you hear about stuff like that, you know, when you're growing up, like, oh, so-and-so stole their mom's car, but
Silky.
It wasn't at 8 years old.
No. 12, maybe 13.
Yeah.
Did you ever steal a car?
I have not stolen a car.
Okay. No, like the parents' car.
No.
Okay, I never took my parents' car because I was afraid of the wrath. However, I stayed over some friend's house that would always steal the car. You know who I'm talking about. And in the middle of the night, what we would do is we would go down into the driveway and put it in neutral, and we would push the car out of the driveway and then start it out in the street.
Yep.
And I was always scared half to death, but by the time we got out of there, you get over it real quick. But 8 years old, man, respect.
Yeah, and like I said, luckily, there wasn't a lot of people on the road. But back closer to home, the water, there's been a lot of boats out on the water. Been busy. One boat actually hit the Matanzas Pass Bridge in Fort Myers Beach, which is the big bridge.
Big bridge.
Yeah,
where all the shrimp boats and stuff are back underneath there.
Yeah.
Was it a shrimp
It was
boat?
a shrimp boat. Earlier this week, a shrimp boat had its outriggers up, tried to go under the bridge and hit the bridge.
Oh, one of the outriggers hit the bridge?
Yes.
Because when we say we hit the bridge, okay, what hit did it hit the bridge to the point where it did any structural damage?
So it didn't do any damage
Thank God,
that
because
they're aware of.
Like, how would you handle that? Now everybody would have to come down to Bimini Beach Road to get in there. Can you
it'd be a
imagine the nightmare?
Yeah. For those of you that don't know, that would result in a detour of probably 45 minutes if you had to go out there. So
yeah, there's only two ways on a Fort Myers Beach. You're coming down from Bonita Beach, or you're going over this bridge up in Fort Myers, you know, to get to the beach area.
right.
Oh my God!
Right.
So what happened?
So no structural damage that was visible. Anyways, they are running some tests on it just to make sure everything's okay. That was earlier this week. 2 days later, same bridge was hit again. But get this, the same boat.
No.
Yeah, same boat.
Same captain?
I don't know that it's the same captain. They won't say. They
There's
just say
got
the
to be
same
a pretty
boat.
heavy penalty for hitting a bridge like that, because not only does it just affect his business and his boat, but you could potentially be affecting everybody else in the area, like massively.
Yeah.
Holy shit. So as long as I've been here, 21 years now, I've never heard of anybody hitting that bridge in any of those commercial boats. And then the same boat hits it twice
Yeah.
in 2 days? Oh.
Sounds like he's got to take some driving lessons from an 8-year-old girl.
And it was a shrimp boat?
It was a shrimp boat.
Something seems fishy.
Okay. Maybe Lieutenant Dan was driving.
Yeah. Marcino Motel?
Well, while that boat didn't sink, there's several sunken vessels being found along the Danube River.
Where's the Danube River?
That stretches through Europe. Part of it's in Germany. I think it may go through Poland. This particular area where they found these sunken vessels was in Serbia. And these aren't just any vessel. They're World War II Nazi ships.
How did they find them? Who were they searching for this? Or?
So they've had a nasty drought recently, and with all the waters going down, it's unearthed these ships. And the reason they were there is that in 1944, when the Soviets were moving in on the Germans intentionally sank a lot of these ships in the river for whatever reason. I don't know the tactical reason behind it, but that's what they did. But the big thing about this is many of these ships have unexploded munitions on them.
Oh, wow.
You know, I mean, think about that, right?
Oh, wow.
These are warships. There's shit on there that people shouldn't just be playing with or swimming with.
Oh,
or,
look what
you know,
I found.
Yeah. So, you know, the first thing is you've got the European Union trying to get these removed. Now, I guess they did this once before in 2022. Same thing happened because there's so many of these ships in there. And so just the process of getting that out of there, you know, worry about defusing anything that could possibly go off or hurt anyone.
Make it inert.
That's enough in itself. But in the meantime, because that's such a process, you got to think about, you know, there's people out there like, oh, cool, look, and, you know, they want to go exploring or they want to take a souvenir. You know, it's dangerous.
You know, this makes me think, so when I'm doom scrolling at night through my social media, there's on TikTok, you'll see these guys that go scuba diving in local rivers or lakes or beach areas with their GoPro, and they basically film themselves going down and they find shit, and every now and then they come across a car. I saw a guy the other day found a car with a body in it, so they call local police. But when you find stuff like this, is it finders keepers? Like, they find a lot of jewelry or phones or sunglasses, and presumably they keep it because they don't know whose it is.
Yeah, I'm sure if there's a crime involved, then it becomes.
In this case, I imagine there's a lot of value to this stuff. I mean,
you don't think that, you know, the Holocaust was a pretty big fucking crime?
No, that was a crime, but yeah, I see what you're saying.
Well, you're also, as a civilian, I don't think you're allowed to have these explosives. I mean, I don't know their rules there, but I would just presume that that's the case.
But there's probably other stuff on these ships. Like, I'd be interested to know who found it, and did they just...
Well, that's the thing, is it's sticking out of the water, so it's not like...
So this is the first time since 1944 that they had that much of a drought where they could actually see these.
Right.
That's unbelievable.
Right.
Wow. Was there a lot of them? Did you see a picture?
Yeah, there's pictures.
Wow.
Yeah.
In Serbia.
Huh. Yep. Well, on that note, that's going to be it for this week. We're going to head out and expel some of our own ammunition and get a little lead therapy in.
Absolutely. And we're going to film plenty of content there, so stay tuned to some of the content of Jay and I shooting at the local gun range Alamo with Mr. Charles Jarrett. And by the way, please feel free to subscribe to our YouTube channel where we host our hard hat highlights, and we appreciate you joining us in week 12. Until then,
see you next time.